Hello, and welcome everybody to this play of the Gloomhaven RPG. I think I'm going to call it Gloomhaven RPG Old School, because this is me, Isaac Childres, the designer of Gloomhaven and the RPG, playing through a short campaign of the RPG with my high school friends and Alice, Rage Badger. Didn't know Alice in high school, but I did know the other two, and this was my original D&D group. So we would get together. I don't know if it was like every week, every other week, and play D&D together. So I brought them back to play the Gloomhaven RPG. So yeah, that's the short intro there. I'm gonna give everybody a chance to kind of introduce themselves and say, whatever you want to say about yourself, and we'll go from there. So let's start with John.
Hello, everybody. My name is John Arana. Like Isaac said, I went to high school with Isaac and Adrian. Had a ton of fun playing D&D, going to arcades, doing all the stuff that kids do. But one thing that really stuck in my mind a lot that I kept with me and close to heart is the good times we had in D&D. Playing at Isaac's place, having pizza, and playing epic games. So, I don't know what else, how deep into my character or bio I should go, but I'm happy to be here and happy to play games.
Awesome. Let's go to Alice next.
Hey there. So I'm Alice. I like to call myself Gloomhaven's biggest fangirl, but I haven't had anyone contest that yet. So we'll see. We'll see if someone's. I'm at plenty of conventions. Someone will eventually probably.
I think that could be true. Yeah.
Yeah. But I run a YouTube channel for Gloomhaven, and I play way too much of it. It's kind of overtaken some of my life. But no, it's great though. I love it.
All right, and Adrian.
I'm Adrian Francies, and I've known Isaac long time. It's like he said, we used to play D&D. I mean, I've been playing D&D probably about as long as I've known Isaac, so I'm pretty familiar with RPGs in general. I'm kind of the forever DM, so this is an exciting opportunity for me to step into the roles of a player. I've got a fun little character concept in mind, and I'm really excited to see what you've been cooking up for us, buddy.
So I didn't start playing D&D until high school, and I kept hearing about it from Adrian, and he kept trying to get me to play, but my parents weren't really into it, the whole satanic panic thing. So it took a long time to convince them, but eventually in high school we convinced them to let me play, and so that's when we formed.
Did we not play in junior high?
Maybe we did.
No, yeah, we didn't start playing until you guys went off to the different high school.
And I think Tom Parker had an influence over me starting to play D&D as well.
Okay.
But yeah, and then so we all, the four of us plus Adrian's younger brother was kind of the core team.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, anyway,
I actually started playing in a junior high as well, and I basically convinced I only was the first person. I was a forever DM because I was the only one with the books, and I had to self-teach myself how to DM, and then I had to convince a bunch of people. But evidently that was pretty easy. I'm very good at convincing people. So I had a group going. Had a pretty steady group for 3 years in high school. That was great.
Awesome.
That's great.
Well, I suspect high school was a lot more recent for you than it was for the other three.
Possibly.
Class of 2000.
Oh boy.
Oh, it's only 4 years off.
Really?
Class of 2004. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. All right. You look good.
Yeah, you just look younger than Christmas.
That's what it is. Yeah.
All right. So I think we're just gonna jump into character creation. We haven't really done much prep beforehand because we kind of wanted to show off how to build characters. So that's what we're gonna do. in this first segment. Yeah, so this is intended to be kind of a multi-segment thing that we'll be releasing around once a week. And so yeah, initially our first segment here is just on character creation, so we can jump into that. So yeah, I guess the first thing that you want to do in character creation is kind of pick your class and ancestry. I think in the rule book it says ancestry first, but they kind of go hand in hand. You know, like that's your vision for your character, is like what combination of class and ancestry do you want to be? And so I'm just gonna put you on the spot. I guess we can go in the same order, or we can discuss it if some people have kind of want to hear input from others on what they want to be. But yeah, just what are your class and ancestry? Whoever wants to kind of jump into it.
Anyone want to go first? Go ahead.
I can go first. I had an idea. So
Sure.
I always like the idea of orchids having some sort of like attunement to crystals, and you know, especially like the Spellweaver who does all sorts of magical stuff. So I thought, what if we could do something that uses like, you know, combines all these elements of that, but make it, instead of like pew pew magic spells, make it basically just kind of conjure almost like bladed things, or like make the like crystals maybe erupt from them like shard stuff. So like maybe make a orchid scoundrel that just kind of doesn't really use a lot of their own equipment, but just kind of manifests it like through crystals, or like, you know, throwing knives that just try straight up just shards of crystal. And I thought that was just an interesting concept.
Yeah, that's super cool. For the RPG and Gloomhaven 2, we are changing Scoundrel name to Silent Knife.
Oh,
But yeah, you can be the Orchid Silent Knife.
Silent Knife. All right.
But yeah, I'm not sure all the TTS materials have been updated, so we'll see what happens when you pull class out.
Will that drop it on here?
Yeah. But yeah, so it still says Scoundrel, but that's okay.
Cool. I have two ideas brewing currently in my mind. I think in order of preference, I think the first one because I like support classes. I was thinking Soothsinger, Vermling.
Cool.
Soothsinger. And he's just kind of like a one-man band that just like plays a lot of metal kind of stuff, and almost with like a Beavis and Butthead voice. It's like,
I love this.
Yes, and that's kind of how he does his songs or whatever. The other one that's I think maybe more sentimental than anything is the Tinker, because it reminds me of this one time in high school when we were playing Dungeons and Dragons. I made a wizard gnome that instead of casting spells normally, we just use technology. So he had like a flamethrower for burning hands and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Back in the day. So the Tinker would be my option too for that. And I know it's vanilla, but I would probably let him be a quattro.
Yeah.
So those are my two ideas, but I'm flexible.
Yeah, I did not remember that gnome wizard, but it's coming back to me now.
It was
Yeah,
like a super short campaign. Like we only played it for like a few adventures.
Nice.
Yeah,
Adrian.
So I don't know about ancestry. I'm thinking maybe just human. But the concept is a young man named Llewellyn who has really bad luck. He has really bad luck, and he accidentally he thinks he's cursed and that doom follows him wherever he goes. And so he's trying to be very careful to not inflict it upon his friends. And through hapless circumstance, he ends up finding himself adventuring and inflicting doom upon his foes instead. He's kind of like a clumsy, nerdy doom star.
That's funny, dude. Well, also the Tinker, a big mechanic, if I'm not mistaken, of a curse. It's and so maybe like people that you're fighting, you're actually also cursing to with your presence.
Oh yeah, like you mean the affliction curse?
Yeah. The curse mechanic.
Well, so the Soothsinger has some curse abilities. But yeah, the Doomstar is mostly just about their own specific dooms, which are different from curses. But
like in the game, it'd be like, well, in like Gloomhaven, you've got it's kind of like a hunter's mark kind of thing, where you say, I'm picking this thing, and in a certain number of rounds, something bad will happen, or while my doom on it, do extra damage or something like that. I have extra range, but me sometimes I doom the wrong things on accident because whoops, role playing.
Yeah, I like it.
Cool. Yeah. So I mean, I think a Soothsinger or a Tinkerer for John would fit into the party. So just do whatever feels right.
Cool. Sounds good. I'm probably gonna go with Soothsinger then.
All right, let's do it.
And if Alice is gonna play an orchid and you're gonna play a vermling, I will play a human and be happy with that.
Awesome.
No,
Yeah. So let's see. Grab Soothsinger from over here. Yeah, so we can briefly just kind of go through the basic mechanics of each of these classes, which we kind of already did. But yeah, so the Doomstalker is kind of a range damage dealer. Has lots of various shots. I mean, typically are made with a bow, but Adrian can kind of, whatever weapon he feels is appropriate for his character. And then also lots of dooms, which kind of put a status, like a very specific status effects on enemies. Like they might take damage over time, or give them some bonus when they die. Lots of different things that he can kind of doom enemies with to give himself advantages. And then the Scoundrel or Silent Knife, whatever we want to call it, because it's written on the character sheet as a Scoundrel. But anyway, yeah, is more of like your typical kind of opportunistic melee damage dealer. She does have some range capabilities as well. And so yeah, I guess Alice is going to be using her own crystal shards from her orchid to stab people with, which is pretty cool. And then the Soothsinger is kind of a bard type character, where you can sort of through abilities collect these note tokens, which we can kind of put over here on your board, and then you can spend these note tokens to perform songs that will have different kind of lasting benefits. So that's either heal your allies or hurt your enemies or do all sorts of fun stuff. Yeah, and so that's so when you pick your class and your ancestry, you're going to get sort of access to a deck of cards. One deck is from your ancestry, or sorry, from your class, and then the second deck is from your ancestry. And so we can pull out those ancestry decks, which are in a separate pile over here. So yeah, Alice can get the.
I just draw them to my hand for the purposes of this for now.
Yeah, at some point we're going to kind of be picking exactly what we want.
Right.
But yeah, you can just draw them in right now. Or I mean, you can take out the level 3 and level 5 card.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so John, if you want to hover over this deck right here and press 4.
The Vermling Ancestry deck.
Right, yeah, you want it to be a Vermling Soothsinger.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just press 4, and that'll draw the top 4 cards of that into your hand.
Cool.
And then we can just kind of set the other 2 aside. All right, and then the next thing that is going to happen is your ancestry is also going to affect your attribute scores. So we have 5 attributes in the RPG. There's knowledge, which is kind of pretty self-explanatory, like when you need to recall information or store information or basically do stuff with the information that you have in your brain that's going to require knowledge. Focus is just kind of like, I don't know, mental acuity. If you need to focus on doing something, or kind of more of a perception thing where you're kind of trying to, investigate something, stuff like that is going to be focus. You have influence, which is kind of interacting with other people or creatures. How well you can sway them to what you want them to do. Then you have athletics, which is more physical. Strength, endurance, like how long you can run or how much you can lift, like that sort of stuff. And then finesse is more physical dexterity, where fine motor skills like picking locks and things of that nature. So each of these attributes is going to start at 1. And then based on your class, you're going to get a +2 in one of the attributes and a +1 in another attribute. So if you want to, you can kind of set all those to 1, and then I can look through this book real fast and see what the bonuses are for each of your classes. Let's see here. So we've got Doom Stalker is going to get +2 finesse and +1 focus. The Soothsinger is going to get +2 finesse and +1 influence.
I'm gonna have a high finesse group here.
And then, the Thunder Scoundrel, yes, it is. Okay. The Silent Knife, yes, also gets +2 finesse and +1 influence. So, yeah, lots of finesse and a good amount of influence as well. So, once those scores have been added, you'll do a little more tweaking on your ability scores or your attribute scores, and you'll decrease one of your attributes by 1. It's kind of like pick a dump stat, if you will. And then you're going to get 2 more increases that you can allocate however you want. So yeah.
Can you decrease even one of the stats that you just increased?
Yes.
So did you call out what the Soothsinger scores are?
Yeah, it's +2 finesse, +1 influence.
Oh, okay.
Which do I want?
So it'll be 3 finesse and 2 influence.
Got it.
Yeah, and so then you can discuss amongst yourselves if you want to. Yeah, it might be good to have somebody with some increase in knowledge and athletics.
So since my character's kind of a bumbler in a lot of ways, I'm going to reduce one of the finesse points I just got and increase my knowledge to 2 and my focus to 3.
All right.
I think I like the idea of my character being a little bit more of a, I guess, kind of, not necessarily a loner, but not being a little bit distant. So I did drop the influence back down to 1, but increased focus and athletics, figuring that should be pretty good at that. Also rounds out the group a little bit.
Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna solicit advice on what I should do, you guys, because I am kind of the newbie of the group here.
I think it might be kind of fun to show off a character that has like a 0 in a stat. So you could take one of your 1s, make it a 0, and then make something.
Cool.
Can you take those 2 +1s and put them in the same thing, Isaac?
Yes, but you can't increase any stat over 3 at
Okay.
level 1. So yeah, your max in any attribute is 2 plus your current level.
I mean, if I really wanted to lean into the Beavis and Butthead stuff, I could reduce focus and knowledge, right?
Well, you just have to
Well, you have to
reduce one
pick
thing.
one.
But then, yeah, you could be the face of the group and increase your influence to 3.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I just lagged. What did you guys say?
Yeah, you could maybe dump your focus down to 0, increase your influence to 3, and then just put your other +1 into either knowledge or athletics, whatever you think is more Beavis-y / buttheady.
Not knowledge for sure. So I'll dump it into athletics.
I mean, if it's like AC/DC or Metallica knowledge,
That's true. I don't know yet. I'll dump it into athletics, I guess, for now.
All right, looks good. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is pick skills. So each character, there's kind of a list of skills associated with their class, but then there's also a skill associated with their ancestry. And these lists of skills will increase as we do more development, but there's essentially like 6 total skills that you can pick from currently. So 5 come from your class, 1 from your ancestry, and you're going to be picking 3 of those skills. So you just kind of combine all that in a single list and then pick whichever 3 that you want. And we can make copies of this rule book if that's helpful for kind of finding whatever your class is. Or yeah, let's do that. So here, I'll throw one over here by John, and then another one. So yeah, so currently you're looking at the Soothsinger entry in this book, and your skill list is kind of written there in skills. So there's disorienting ditty, nostalgic notes, power ballad, that sort of stuff.
Cool.
Yeah, Scoundrels on the same page, and you got Doom Soccer. All right, and then unfortunately, the way this is currently laid out, which probably won't be in the final version, but you also have a skill based on your ancestry. So if you want to pick, for instance, for Vermling, you can pick Scurry instead of like as one of your 3 skills instead of picking all 3 from your class. So yeah,
Okay. I'll take Scurry for sure.
what were you saying, Isaac? You can pick that instead of what?
Instead of 3 class skills.
Yes, you can basically either have 3 class skills or 2 class skills and your ancestry skill. And so ancestry skill for humans is going to be this your familiar face.
Got it.
And the way skills work, there's essentially 2 kinds of skills, like skills that are going to give you some advantage during an attribute check. So for instance, like the familiar face skill for humans says you gain advantage on an influence attribute check against another human. So you're going to activate that skill when you're performing a check to gain whatever bonus it's going to give you. And then the other skills, the other type of skill that you have just kind of lets you do something for free, or not for free, but without doing an attribute check. So for instance, like on the silent knife, let's see, actually, well, let's see. Or yeah, so like silent knife, like into the shadows, you can just become invisible. This is outside of combat. Like if you remain in the shadows for up to 1 hour, right? So like that doesn't require a finesse check or anything. You just say I'm using into the shadows and kind of do your thing. So does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so.
How many skills are we picking right now?
3. Yeah, so then each time you level up, you'll get an additional skill to kind of add to your repertoire as well. And then each skill also has either discarded or lost next to it. And so what that means, basically, whenever you want to use one of your skills, you're going to lose stamina to do so, which is represented by your deck of ability cards. So outside of combat, how that works is your deck of ability cards is basically just like a face-down deck in front of you. And anytime you want to spend stamina to do something, or if the GM tells you to spend that stamina, you'll just discard one of those cards into a discard pile. Or if you lose the card, you'll lose that card into a separate lost pile. Very similar to how combat works, where you have kind of a hand, you have discard, and you have lost. It's just outside of combat, your hand is just in front of you, as opposed to you having to fan it out and look at the cards, because you're not going to be interacting with any of the text on the cards outside of combat. Yeah, so it's basically just a resource that you'll spend. And then when you get into combat, whatever's left in your stamina pile, your draw deck, you'll draw in your hand and start combat normally. Yeah, hopefully that made sense.
Makes sense.
So yeah, when you're writing down these skills, you want to write down whether it's discarded or lost. So, how much stamina you're going to be losing whenever you want to use that. And then also, you can write a short description, however you want to kind of transfer that, whatever it says in the rule book, onto your sheet, so that you can remember what those skills do. So it looks like Alice has picked her skills. So why don't you start and kind of explain what you have?
All right. So initially I was picking the Orchid ability, Quiet Contemplation. So if you spend 5 minutes in silence, you can gain +2 on your next attribute check. Given I thought that they were very contemplative and stuff, I figured this would be really good. Also, I think it, in addition to lore reasons, I also think it might help the idea of if we have a moment to wait before being forced to make a check, we might be able to have her do it with greater proficiency. So that sounded pretty good too, in addition to lore reasons. And at the shadows is something I thought would be personally pretty cool. Like the idea of turning invisible, but instead of invisible, maybe molding self into as a crystal formation on a rock thing and just kind of blending in with the environment or something along those lines, rather than actually poof going invisible. Or maybe, maybe just shattering some dust and it creating a thing for a diversion. Regardless, it's up for an hour, so we'll see. Anyway, that's out of combat. So that sounds at least interesting and fun. And throwing knives sounded like chucking crystal stuff at them. So it sounds like she'd probably be pretty good at that, and being able to create a few of these things and being able to very accurately from a distance chuck those, which sounded fun. I just liked it.
Yeah, sounds useful. All right, Adrian, you want to go through your skills?
Sure. So I just took 3 from the Doomstalker list. Impending Doom, which lets me take 1 single creature to suffer disadvantage for all attacks and ability checks for the subsequent 10 minutes. And then there's Trick Shot. And all these are just discarded. None of them are lost effects. Trick Shot, which says shoot your bow. But I was thinking, I don't even know if I have weapons. I think things just sort of happen around things that I fight. My bow could just be a tree branch randomly snapping in the right spot or wrong spot. Anyway, but it says shoot your bow to hit a non-living target with this. You can see with the exact force you require or desire, excuse me. And then Wilderness Survival, which lets you avoid traps in the wilderness or forage food and water for 1 meal, essentially, for your companions. So those all seemed like things that could be explained away with good or very bad luck.
Oh, I just found all these mushrooms.
Uh,
So yeah, you're saying your trick shot is just like something happens around you, and it doesn't actually require you to shoot, but kind
Yeah.
of like you shot it in
Yeah.
some way. Okay, oh, that's works. I'm into it.
that sounds fun.
All right, how you doing, John?
The typing cursor keeps moving on me for some reason.
Oh.
But I can speak to the skills that I've selected so far. Again, I will solicit feedback / advice. But I took the Vermling skill of Scurry, which I believe allows me to move an extra 20 feet.
There it is.
Oh, there it is. Yeah, so travel up to 20 feet instantly, moving through creatures without penalty. I don't know what the traditional classes mean. Does that mean that? Oh, just the traditional classes of the Vermling. Okay,
Or
cool.
Vermling, yeah.
I thought it was like a requirement for this ancestry skill. The other one is my second one is Power Ballad, which is a buff for my allies. They all gain +1 on all attributes for 1 hour.
Seems
And
pretty useful.
That's
Great.
very good.
yes, the other one I was kind of torn between nostalgic notes or disorienting ditty. For class flavor, I like the idea of disorienting ditty, because I'm just like playing metal, people that don't like metal, and then they just like get disoriented or muddled. So I'm torn between that one and what I feel might be kind of another good buff, which is nostalgic notes, which allows one ally to recover a background card.
Yeah.
So
Well,
it
Adrian
feels like
already
nostalgic
has.
notes might be more meta, but
Adrian does have a similar skill to disorienting ditty, impending doom, which is just one creature, but they have disadvantage for the next 10 minutes, whereas yours would be 10 creatures for 1 minute. So yeah, if you didn't want to double up on that, like yeah, nostalgic notes might be more useful, but it's up to you. Whatever fits the flavor of your character does.
yeah. Well, I went with nostalgia, so I'm gonna go with my gut.
All right.
Again,
Cool.
That's
unless y'all think it'd be cooler to disorient 10 folks at once versus getting another background card back.
no, they're both good.
I think we
Ooh.
rock out to your metal, man, and we're all about it.
I do like rocking out to metal though, so that's up my alley.
Nice.
All right. So yeah, once skills have been chosen, the next step of character creation is backgrounds, which is one of my favorite parts.
Yeah, this looks cool.
So essentially, what we're gonna do, actually, let's move this map, and then we'll put this in the center of the board here. So the game will come with 50 of these background cards. Currently, there's only 30, but I'm just going to kind of lay them out on the table. And so the way this works, or at least the way I like to do it when I'm playing around a table, is just, yeah, you just kind of fan out all these cards, and then each player just kind of looks through this, and whatever speaks to them is kind of grab 4 of these. And I mean, if you have multiple decks of these background cards, you can kind of double up. Or we can all just pick different backgrounds. So the way backgrounds will work in game is that whenever you're performing an attribute check, you have the opportunity to expend one of your background cards to generally get a bonus on that check. And then when you do so, you'll just flip the card over, and then whenever you are able to take a breath, which is kind of the RPG's version of a short rest, that's when you kind of can recover all your discarded cards from your stamina supply, and then also you'll get to refresh all your backgrounds. So you kind of think of them as just like extra bonuses that you get for attribute checks, but they're kind of single use until you do a little rest. In addition, if you're in the position to do so, you can aid another player's check with one of your backgrounds. Also will get expended until you take a breath. But yeah, you can kind of help each other out with your backgrounds when appropriate as well. And then some of these cards have kind of this, it's called a social symbol up in the corner, which are extra fun because they're kind of, you're involving other players in your backgrounds. So when you take one of these cards, you're saying like another player is kind of involved in that as well. So for instance, like if you take best friends, then you have to pick one of the other players at the table and be like, hey, you're my best friends. We've known each other for a long time. And then if you aid each other in a check, then you get +2.
Sweet. My bowling this jam band one.
Yeah, the jam band does sound.
Are we all in a band, guys?
Are we all in a band? Woo!
That'd be acceptable.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
I don't hate it.
So yeah, it might make sense since John was probably the leader of the band for him to take the jam band card.
Sweet. I'm gonna
That's
go
it.
for it, even though it does require like minimum 2 other folks. So like we all have to stick together.
Yeah, if you all do it kind of a check together, that jam band can give you.
We got it. We'll do it as a group.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's go through the process of like picking this card because so yeah, what you'll do is you'll just take it and kind of put it somewhere in front of you near your character sheet. Just you're gonna want to be referencing these cards as you play. So wherever is convenient for you. And then you also want to mark that on your character sheets down here in the background card section. And then, so you can write jam bands, and then also it's probably good in some cases to like specify any other specifics of the card, right? So like in this case, you might want to write down like who the other band members are. Of course, it's your entire party, so you don't necessarily have to track that since it's kind of obvious, but you're going to have this card in front of you, so you don't necessarily need to like transfer all the information to your character sheet, but just kind of whatever other detailed explanation you want to give, just in terms of like role playing.
I think these are the 3 that stick out the most to me.
You said 4 though, right?
Yeah, you said 4. So I was like, these 3 I think are pretty good. Then I'm pretty open on trying to figure out the others.
I'm really leaning into the like clumsy, lucky, unlucky.
You just picked all of them. Okay.
I was gonna say maybe imposter syndrome or something.
Guys, we suck.
We suck, you guys. We suck as a band.
Never gonna get any kicks.
It's too real. I think I like them as like a trainer too, so we're gonna grab all these. We put them like near the.
Yeah, I mean, wherever is convenient for you to, reference
And we'll
them.
put the background cards here. Okay.
How many background cards do we get?
4.
Or
Okay. Think about this. Might do imposter.
Oh, I've got my 4 picks.
Sure. Yeah, Alice, why don't you tell us about your background?
All right, so I was personally thinking of her being kind of like a very like she likes her alone time. So I like the idea of, first off, being born at midnight just sounds like something like, of course, that person would be, not many people awake and about. So kind of pervades throughout her whole life. And given that she already is, I took like quiet contemplation. Meditative seemed to fit that theme. The idea of thinking before acting and sounds very much along with her. Loner also, I think, although she definitely does interact with other mercenaries, and I think I like the idea of her being more of someone who doesn't spend her whole life by herself, but she takes a lot of time for herself that away from the others. So more introverted a little bit. I think that fits there. And I was decided on strength trainer, basically like they're not spending their whole time just straight up like in quiet contemplation, because they've got a little bit of a less on the knowledge side. So I figured maybe they do a little bit on strength training, athletic side, which might play into how she found herself just, in the mercenary world anyway. So I don't think a lot of the orchids don't look so terribly. I mean, I wouldn't say she's particularly buff, but particularly toned, we'll say.
So you're born at midnight. Where were you born?
Oh, I don't know. I was trying to figure that out, but like, cause like a lot of the orchids are like east of the Misty Sea or whatnot, like that. Where was she born? Not in Gloomhaven, but we're gonna say that she's from somewhere east of there. She's come away from her homeland to Gloomhaven. Assuming this is in Gloomhaven.
Be around Gloomhaven.
Around Gloomhaven, somewhere in the area, but she is not of this place.
So why did she leave?
Why did she leave? Ultimately, though, again, being a loner, not being really accepted by, like, not accepted, more like she wasn't really, she didn't, well, I don't want to say vibe with, but maybe we'll just go with that for a quick explanation. Driven a little bit by wanderlust and not really feeling like she has her place, trying to find what that is. And it doesn't necessarily seem to be with the place she was born. And turns out she kind of has this whole loner mentality in general everywhere. It's not just, oh, it wasn't just where I was. This is the kind of person I am. And she's slowly cracking out of her crystal shell to interact with more people, even being pressured to perform in a metal band, which she is ultimately not fond of, but for her friends, she'll do it for other people just to like, it's just more of a confrontation to say no, so just goes along with it.
Do you think she'll ever find what she's looking for?
I'm not very sure. We'll find out though. Maybe, I don't know, but I hope she does.
But she doesn't really know what she's looking for.
She doesn't know what she's searching for. That's the worst part.
Yeah, that's
a sense of being.
Yeah.
It's inward, introspective, and orchids will ponder that for a long time.
Yeah. Yeah, so how old are you?
What are the orchids' ages?
They can live, I think, like thousands of years.
Yeah, they are. I guess I didn't have the ones on here, but yeah, we're gonna say on the younger side, we're gonna say that I'm not. whatever we'll say in the younger side of adult for an orchid is, but not. So she still spent quite a bit of time trying to figure things out. But in human years, we're gonna say they would have said like, yeah, you spent a lot of time on that. But in orchid years, it might even still considered even flighty. But compared to humans, it seems like, wow, you really put a lot of time into that. And like, no, I thought it was pretty impulsive. But in by comparison, so whatever is appropriate there. I almost honestly think like
something around like 100 or something.
Yeah, so I was trying to think an elf, like old school elf years. So I was thinking like, yeah, 100 sounds right. We're gonna say she's 100.
Right. And what instrument do you play in the band?
Oh, what instrument? Something that has to do with dexterity. So there's a lot of things, or maybe even like something you could like blow. Oh, what about like how like those crystal glasses where you like fill them up with water or something? Maybe she just shakes them and just creates a sound with these things. That's not very metal, but
it can be.
I'm not sure. But it adds another vibe as long as other people are making loud stuff to go with it. It depends on what genre of metal, but I'm not going to get into metal subgenres on this. I'll spend way too long on it.
So like she's like playing the crystals on herself, or
or like maybe manifesting some crystalline thing and just using those, and it creates what she believes to be a pleasant sound. It's subjective though. Not everyone's vibing with that.
It can be hauntingly beautiful, like in
the
context of. Because I'm imagining like those little ring things that the glass or whatever.
Yeah,
so you can do it on your skin or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes people will be like, okay, that's neat, but like, oh, what? You don't like diminished tritones and stuff like that? I'm like, please stop that. No, it sounds nice.
Okay, but only if you can play the Carol of the Bells on your little rings.
Oh, I like that idea too.
But to like a metal background kind of thing.
Maybe all you play are tritones.
Oh, that would be great. that would be hard to listen to. I love it though.
All right. So, as a strength trainer, do you have any clients, or is it more just like you're just doing your own strength training?
We're gonna say she's not very good at being a loner. She's just not good at getting herself out there. She has no clients. She could absolutely teach other people. She's put a lot of thought into this, but ultimately she doesn't know how to attract the attention of other people. She kind of sticks to herself. And then like, why is that? Why are people just not interested? I could show them lots of tricks. Unfortunately, she does not get the opportunity to as much. And being a mercenary has just been more lucrative.
All right. Anything else? Anything else you want to add?
I think that's a good start for her.
All right. And your name is
Amathea.
Amathea. All right. Adrian, just tell us about your backgrounds.
Well, as everyone knows, it's a tragic tale. Very sad. Everywhere I go, doom follows me. and it has been my sole burden, my tragic past, my unfortunate sordid circumstance where I'm trying to escape the impending doom that I'm sure follows me everywhere I go. So that sort of is like the tragic backstory is more one of my own making than it is an actual tragic backstory. It's tragedy in my own mind. Maybe it's entirely possible I took Demonic Pact mostly for the flavor of, stumbling into some kind of success. But maybe there's actually some truth to the fact that I did accidentally make a demonic pact at some point that I don't really know about. That could come up at some point.
Okay.
And I think, and I have a very dark secret, but it's really not that dark of a secret. My dark secret is that, doom follows me everywhere, and I can't have friends around me, or bad things will happen to them. So again, it's more of a, it's not really a dark secret. It's dark by my own making. I took employee. I thought this was kind of an interesting idea that I work for one of you, and I don't know if you bossed me around or whatever. And I'm not sure if this would be better to take as an employee of Alice or of John's character. I'm not sure which one is better here. What do you play in the band, John?
The axe, bro. What do you mean? What do I play?
I'm just checking, just
Yes.
verifying.
Yeah, probably like a fantasy version of the guitar, right? Like a lute or something. Power lute.
Oh, I love power lute.
It's like a lute, but it
really
has
bad.
like 10 strings on it. Something stringy.
Do you sing? Do we have a vocalist, or is this like purely instrumental?
I don't know. I guess I can sing. Maybe. I don't know. Do you want to sing? You can be the singer.
I'm just trying to think of what I would even play.
Well, you need drums, right?
Yeah, you definitely need drums. We need
Yeah.
percussion.
Dude, you used to play drums, right?
Sure, we can, if you want to call it that. Yeah, I guess so. Some part of me thinks that I don't actually play any instrument. Things just sort of happen around me, and it's moderately musical at times. Like I can stumble through something and it makes a percussive drum beat.
Makes a beat, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But if that's the case, maybe like John, if you are like the leader of the band, you maybe even are like my employer or our employer, and so
Okay.
I am your employee. I am your dutiful servant.
Drummers are super hard to find, by the way. I'm in a band that gigs around town, so I know.
Yeah, so I took this gig not out of any desire to spread music to the world, mostly just because I needed a little money to afford my my lifestyle of trying to avoid running into people and causing bad things to happen to them. So
Okay.
I am your employee, but I very much like to stay in the background, and I don't like to be up front on the stage or anything like that.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say,
I don't want any of the
if
focus
you wanted
on
to be more charismatic, you could be the singer and you just go up to the mic or whatever, and you're complaining about your life the whole time, but it comes out musically with the
Oh,
the
yeah.
music.
Yeah, you could be like
Oh,
Matt Berninger in the National, right? He just sings about divorce.
Yeah.
Oh, dear.
I hit my toe on my bed this morning.
Oh yeah, I think that's great. Yeah, you're just kind of
Yes.
whining into the mic.
Yeah,
I like that. I like that.
Or-
That's the singing. Yeah.
there if you want. There are cases, it's not as common, but there are certainly some bands that have the drummer is the vocalist, so
That's pretty rare.
Genesis.
could do a
Still
little
rare.
could do a little both.
It's up to you.
No, it's funny. I think it's funny. I think it's great.
Cool.
Cool, yeah, but John is in charge of the band, and so you're his employee.
Yeah, I come up with the music, maybe, I guess. Yes.
Yeah.
I compose.
So, Adrian, like, was there something like tragic in your past that you know of that you can like specifically point to, or do you not know why things are like the way they are?
Well, like, so one day, when I was really young, I think I got up on the wrong side of the bed, and I've been having a really bad days ever since then.
Of
Okay.
course.
So
worry.
you don't really
No, I don't know.
know. Okay.
I don't know if it's funnier that way or if I should actually put something up. No. I mean, I could also lean into. I could also make it like, my dark secret is that, I accidentally made some demonic pact when I was young by, sitting there like, oh man, I sure wish I could have this cool new tricycle, or oh man, that candy in the store looks great. I'd sell my soul for that. And then it actually happened, and ever since then I've been living.
I'd give away all my luck if I just had that BMX 100.
Which I got and promptly crashed.
Yeah, exactly. And ever since then, it's just been bad luck from there on out.
Yeah, so then, I mean, that you could, if you want it to be a little bit more like that, that's certainly an option, where my dark secret is that I've got this demon breathing down my neck at all times.
What if
Yeah,
it
it's
was
something
all
that
mental?
could develop over time, I think.
What if it was all mental and like a fake witch cursed you and you just believe you have the curse and you just like clumsily go through life now because you're thinking you're cursed because of the witch?
Or
Or
maybe I
something.
really am cursed.
Or maybe you were cursed. You threw a rock at the witch's window and broke it.
Oh, that's a great idea.
All right,
That's
so
awesome.
yeah, that we can just say explanation not known at this time, but
Mystery.
yes, it is a mystery that may be revealed later. Can you tell me anything else about your upbringing, where you grew up? Who were your parents?
I would imagine I grew up around Gloomhaven, somewhere probably in the outskirts of the city or inside the city proper. Probably had a fairly poor upbringing. I'd say I'm probably the most middle child of like 7 kids. So, child 4 out of 7. And all my other siblings are more successful in some other way, shape, or form. And I'm the runt of the litter. I don't have like a bad relationship with my family or anything like that. I have taken self-imposed exile to try and spare people from the awful things that constantly seem to befall me.
All right. What did your parents do? What do they do in Gloomhaven?
Let's see. My maternal figure was the breadwinner. She literally entered contests and won bread.
Okay.
I don't know. Had the most steady job you could imagine. It's probably like, day labor type stuff. Well, it's like fishing, working docks, some type of working in the shipping industry, unloading and loading vessels.
Yeah.
Something like that. And then my father was he was probably like a cook or a chef or something like that, but then he suffered an accident and it made it hard for him to work at a normal pace, and so he kind of medically retired and became kind of like the stay-at-home dad who tended to the family that way.
All right. Yeah, you got lots of kids to watch, so I'm sure there's a lot of work to be done there.
Especially for Llewellyn. He was a real handful.
Always breaking things.
Pretty much.
Yeah. All right, cool. Anything else?
I'm sorry in advance to my companions.
Oh boy. All right. So, John, why don't you tell us about your backgrounds? So you got 5 cards here. You still
Yeah,
deciding?
I was trying to decide between imposter, just to be funny, but I think I'm gonna go with optimist instead. So I'll get rid of this one.
All right.
Yeah, because in my head, as we've been creating this characters, I thought I was just going to be kind of like a background character, like Beavis or Butthead, just like headbanging in the background while everything else happened. I did not foresee that I was going to be a band leader here. So I'll opt out of imposter for optimist. And yeah, so I got jam band because we're in the band. I got weird trick. Like maybe I can do some sick moves on my power lute where like I just like play it behind my back or like play with my tongue or something. And optimist. So when aiding, so did you want me to explain each one of the powers or whatever?
No, I'm just more interested in the story at this point.
Yeah, so optimist. I figure since my other 2 companions are so kind of gloomy, no pun intended. I'm like the one that's always trying to rev people up and trying to get us to succeed, kind of thing. And so I'm going to be helping a lot of people out. I also think it synergizes well with my class type. Because I'm going to be helping a lot of folks out. And so that'll boost up my team leader card. So team leader gives me plus X, where X is the number of time you've aided an ally. And that's what I figure I'm going to be doing a lot. And Optimus helps with aiding, I think. And yeah. So those are my background cards. Story wise, I'm a vermin. I want to say I'm not exactly sure where vermlings come from, but maybe near Gloomhaven.
So yeah, there are Vermlings in Gloomhaven, living like normal folk. Some of them, there's Vermlings that kind of live in the sewer as well, if they're not as well off or well
Yeah,
treated.
dude. I like that. I want to say that's where I came from. I came from the sewers.
All right.
My family has a hovel in maybe like a sewer favelas or something. And they were super conservative. I was like one of a batch or a litter of 20 vermlings. And they were super conservative, and they hated music, they hated metal. And so I just kind of had to rebel from that and go off on my own because I'm gonna freaking make it, bro. And that's kind of what I'm just like trying to do. I'm trying to like become super popular and show my parents that I could do otherwise.
Okay.
I love the idea of this rat showing off their parents of just, like I'm gonna start a band. There's like 20 other ratlings and stuff. Just that's a fun scene.
Yeah. All my siblings went into like the family business. I want to say like I don't know, cleaning sewers, and that was just not for me. I had bigger dreams than that. So yeah, maybe my parents own a sewer cleaning service or something, and like I just didn't want to go into the family business because screw that. That's not metal at all.
Yeah, I don't know if sewer cleaning is a thing, but they can certainly be I don't know.
Scavengers, sewer scavengering.
I mean, they could just be cleaners, right? I mean, they could
Oh, there you
clean maybe some mentions and whatnot in the travelers district or something,
go. Yeah.
or maybe some lower end stuff. But yeah. Cool. So this is kind of all to prove to your parents that you're worth something, like.
And the
that kind of
siblings too,
central
because I want to see
motivation.
the siblings picked on me for not going into the family business. So yeah, I'm showing the whole family.
The whole family that you can make it on your own,
Yeah.
not be a cleaner.
Then I can make it big as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So this outfit that you've got going, as three of you, I mean, would you consider yourself more a band or more a group of mercenaries? You know, is it like mercenaries primary, band secondary, or the other way around?
I think in my head, we're musicians first and mercenaries second, but being a mercenary is what pays the bills, and music is not currently paying the bills, so we're like a struggling band kind of thing. So yeah, I think it'll depend on who you ask. But in my character, like, we're a band, bro. We're just out here, you know, killing people or whatever. But primarily, we're just doing this. We're doing this for the band, you guys.
So you're the guy in the band who takes it like far more seriously than anybody else.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Any other questions I have for you? But you also consider yourself to be like the leader of the team, right? Not just the leader of the band. You're kind of the guy in charge of everything.
I mean, I was not planning on doing that for this exercise, but if anyone else wants to be considered the leader of the band, of the team, please speak up now, please. Otherwise, you know, I can give it a shot.
No, that sounds good.
And then you said your weird trick was like playing your lutes kind of just in weird positions, like behind your back.
Just like, yeah, dude, or just like in between my legs in a phallic motion or something. I don't know.
All right. Cool. Yeah. So the way I see it, yeah, you guys are a group of mercenaries primarily, though one of you is very into being a band as well. And as mercenaries in Gloomhaven, you know, you pick up jobs where you can, and it, you know, pays the bills fairly well, you know, at least enough to stay alive and all of that. Yeah, a lot of your mercenary work, as is the case for a lot of people, is escorting caravans from Gloomhaven out to the west. So the next kind of nearest settlement to the west of Gloomhaven is Wayward, which is just kind of like a stopping point on the way to more of the larger cities in the west, like the capital, White Oak, and other cities like Demon's Gate and Red Oak, and you know, there's lots of stuff over there. But yeah, your primary route is just to go out to Wayward and then go back to Gloomhaven, because that's kind of the most dangerous stretch of the road. Kind of when you get into the wilds around Gloomhaven, it's kind of when you have to be protecting caravans the most. So that's where most of the mercenaries get their work. Before I go too far into detail here, I just realized that there is one last part of character creation, and that is selecting items. So each of you start with 60 golds at level 1, and you can kind of use that to buy set of items that you want. There's kind of two classes of items, and unfortunately, we don't have like the list in the rules document. It's kind of like a link to a separate like spreadsheet. So I'm gonna maybe just post that link in chat, and then you could kind of jump out of TTS to kind of look at that list. Let's see. So let's do that really fast.
Did you guys give yourselves last names or just the characters?
I just did it first.
Character's name is going to be Narvis.
Narvis.
Yes.
Oh yeah, we did go
A mix of gnarly and Beavis.
All right, so yeah, we have the inventory list, which kind of is broken up into two separate groups. We've got kind of non-combat items, which is going to be like your basic tools, like I don't know, shovels or rations or lengths of rope, stuff like that. Stuff that you're going to kind of use outside of combat as you're adventuring to, you know, climb things or whatever you feel like doing, or like a musical instrument, for instance, in the case of John. Is his power loop that he needs. And then the other class is more of your combat equipment. And unlike in the board game, right, where you might have like an iron helmet and leather armor and like nothing else, for the RPG, you kind of envision your character a little bit differently. Like they are always gonna like have on them like all the equipment they need to like perform their skills, right? So you know, if you're for instance playing I don't know, and it's also kind of up to the player, right? So if you're playing a Doomstalker, like normally you'd be like, yeah, I've got a bow because like I shoot things. Maybe Adrian doesn't have a bow because he just kind of points at things and bad things happen to them. But that's all just kind of open to his interpretation. So like whatever you need to play your character to perform like the abilities on your ability cards, you're considered to like have. And then if you were to like buy an iron helmet or leather armor, that's kind of, they're like considered more as just like augments to like the equipment that you already own. So, you know, like leather armor might just be like some extra like leather padding on the armor that you already have. And that allows you to gain that item's like specific benefit in combat to like, you know, give an attacker disadvantage on one attack. Or, you know, if you have a battle axe, you know, maybe that's just kind of like an augment on a weapon that you already have to like allow you to do a big swing occasionally. So that's kind of like how to think about your combat equipment in terms of role playing and how your character looks. So anyway, and then combat equipment is equipped on your person as normal, as in the board game, right? So you can have one head slot, one body slot, all that stuff. And then in addition, you have kind of 10 inventory slots to hold your sort of non-combat items. And so each item, you know, has a number of inventory slots that it fills up. And yeah, so also the party is considered to have like a stash, you know, which is maybe like a wagon or something if they're on the road, or it might just be like a stash house if they're in the city. And so kind of you're generally considered at most times to like have access to the stash. So like if you have additional items that you don't necessarily want to carry on your person, you know, so maybe some valuable stuff that like you've been able to collect and you want to store so you don't always have to carry it with you. You kind of consider to be always have access to that stash, which kind of has like infinite inventory space. But then when you go into situations like where you normally wouldn't have access to that stash, like maybe you're headed into a dungeon or like into a dark cave, you know, where you wouldn't be able to like carry your wagon in with you, that's when you kind of really need to like worry about like, okay, what are my inventory slots? Like how much can I hold on me? Because I can't just consider that I have access to everything. Yeah, so that's kind of the general idea of how the item system works. And yeah, I think we're maybe ready to look at some people's item choices. If somebody wants to go first, if they feel they're ready.
I can.
Cool.
So orchids don't really eat, like, right? Am I remembering the law correctly?
Yeah, that's true. So orchids, yeah, generally just kind of meditate, and they get a lot of the energy from the sun. I think it was, if I remember the lore
Yeah.
correctly. Yeah.
We'd have to ask the expert on that to see who that
If
is.
only there was an expert there. So.
Yeah. But yeah, I figured first off, I like the idea of the rope and the lockpick set, giving us that one of the more lucrative ways is just breaking and entering, especially for like, for trying to find a quarry or like pick a lead on something for like the mercenary thing. She's got the proficiency for that, and I like having that. Plus, it's just really uncomfortable to like lay down in like the wild. So bedroll's necessary, but she doesn't really care about rations. She's just going to absorb nutrients naturally through her little crystals and meditate, and that'll be enough for sustenance. And I like the idea of changing like a poison dagger to be almost like more like a poison vial to like fill a thing with and just like shoot an enemy with it. I just like the idea of like maybe not having it just be like the standard green that we always see, but maybe whatever color that crystal is. Almost just thinking about having your crystals be almost like a mood ring, but I thought that would be a little too silly. But I like the idea of just leather armor, if only because I don't think this group has a lot of frontline people, and figured that just for combat purposes, having someone with a little bit more defense might benefit the group.
Sure. Yeah, so the poison dagger is more of just like, a poison that you use to coat your crystals as necessary. Yeah.
You got it. But yeah, I think those are the choices.
All right. Llewellyn the Doomstalker. You're still working.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out like what kind of things can I put in the stash versus carrying on me? Because like, could I put, cooking stuff in the stash? I'm trying to find a way to get 10 up to 10 inventory slots worth.
Yeah, I mean, normally those things could go in a stash, right? It's just like if you're gonna need to cook like inside a cave, or use your tents inside a cave somewhere.
Sorry, if I need to use it inside of a cave, what?
Well, then you wouldn't have access to your stash. Like if you want to like set up your cooking utensils and pots like inside a cave, you'll just need to like bring it with you on your person. But generally, like if you're just using it to like cook out in the wilderness, right, then you should be fine just keeping it in your stash.
Most of what I've picked so far is just like standard run-of-the-mill survival items. So, just food, water, bed, torch, because I'm human, and the ability to, cook stuff as needed. So cooking pot, cooking supplies, utensils, flint to start a fire, and then I was doing all the math to see how much I was at. But I'm probably going to also throw in a weighted net and probably like some leather armor if I can afford those. I think those are 50 together, so I might not be able to afford all that. Yeah, there's no way I can. But So yeah, probably just the net and not the armor. And then yeah, that's basically it. The net suffices as my way to uh, bog enemies down in a pinch when luck does not necessarily favor me.
Yeah.
I got to do it the old-fashioned way.
Yeah, I'm feeling like the mobile stash might be a bit confusing, and also, the kind of stash rules are kind of still in development anyway. So I'm thinking like, yeah, it's probably better just to have everything on your person, and like you have a stash like maybe back in Gloomhaven, but like as you're moving back and forth, you don't want to like have like an additional wagon to like cart around. That sounds like a lot of work. So maybe at some point, if you have enough money, you can like buy a mobile stash, like get like a horse and a wagon and all that. But that's going to require some investment. So let's say that you have a stash back in Gloomhaven, but generally, if you want something, you should keep it on your person when you're traveling.
Okay. Then yeah, I mean, just some survival items and then a weighted net. That's what I've got.
All right. So and we didn't go with names for the Vermling Soothsayer, but you're going with Narvis the Soothsayer.
Yes. Narvis is going to be my character's name.
All right. So what inventory does Narvis have?
Well, I got in my instrument, potentially a power loot. We'll decide what can exist in this world, but that's where the bulk of my money went into. Beyond that, I have the bedroll and rations that I need to kind of just survive out in the wild, plus a rope, a pry bar for maybe some dungeon delving. I don't know, maybe it's just kind of where my man's at. And stamina potion, which I believe is consumable, right? Like you don't get it back afterwards.
Right. Yeah. Unlike in the board game where you can use your potions once per scenario over and over.
Yeah.
Thematically,
so
here in the role-playing game, they're just single use, but they are cheaper to buy.
Yeah, I might end up with 2 stamina potions then.
All right.
And that'll tap me out.
Cool. All right. So yeah, you've got your equipment, and that is the final part of character creation. So,
Hooray!
Ancestry, your class, your attributes, scores, your skills, your backgrounds, and your inventory. Lots of choices to make.
But they're fun choices.
Yeah, I hope so. So I'm going to go back into the description of the campaign that I was getting to before I forgot that we had inventory choices to make. So you are mercenaries traveling the road between Gloomhaven and Wayward, protecting caravans from any sort of marauding raiders or thieves who might be looking for a quick buck by stealing from the merchants. Now, as an extra bonus, you get to charge a little bit extra, just like a tiny bit extra, because you are also a musical group. You can entertain the crowds in the evenings, and some caravans appreciate that more than others. Depending on how into metal they are.
This is how we spread the word, you guys.
Yes.
But yeah,
This is how we spread the word, you guys. This is how we're going to become popular.
Yeah, you're just trying to build cred right now. It's not really worth much.
This is the underground. I mean, it's above ground, but it's the underground scene, man.
And so that is how it is going for you. You're protecting caravans and entertaining / annoying them in the evenings with your music. At the moment, you are camping, or not camping, but you're out in Wayward. So you've completed a job protecting a caravan from Gloomhaven out to Wayward, and now you're just kind of hanging around Wayward, just looking for a new job to maybe send you back to Gloomhaven. So a little bit about Wayward. It's mostly just a giant kind of inn in the center of town called the Wayward Inn, and that's kind of how the town was founded. Was just back in the day, it was just this inn, as a place for people to rest on their way, back and forth from Gloomhaven to some of the other cities to the west. And then there's kind of this town grew up around the Wayward Inn, as the Wayward Inn itself grew as well to just accommodate additional travelers, and then just needed some support staff for everything. There was a kind of a stable that grew up around that as a place for horses to stay overnight. Some various shops, carpentry shops in particular, to kind of repair any broken wagons that needed to be repaired on the way. And so this is kind of like town spread up around that, with the central economy just being servicing caravans as they're moving from one place to another. So you are not staying in the Wayward Inn. It is, say, too expensive for you. There is a budget inn in town, though, and that's called the Signpost, and it's kind of on the western side of town. Very rundown. The proprietors of the Wayward Inn have been trying to get it closed for as long as anybody can remember. It just kind of cuts into their profits. They don't want a budget inn around. They want to force people to spend, whatever they deem as the appropriate charge for people to stay at their inn and not have any other options. But it's just kind of stuck around, for better or for worse, over on the west side of town, and generally is just ignored, but is just a budget location for people. So that's where you're staying. Luckily, the proprietor is a fan of your music and lets you stay there at a discounted rate. Not free, of course, but for a discount rate, for you to set up your band in the corner and play some music for the other proprietors. And that is what you're doing this evening, you wait around hoping for a job to materialize. And
any second, you guys, any second.
And so that's where I'm gonna stop this initial our initial session for character creation. We've kind of set up the characters and the campaign, and then we'll jump into it next time. So thanks everybody for watching, and thank you to Alice and Adrian and John for sitting down and playing with me. And I look forward to where we go from here.